Who is this woman, and where can you find her 7-foot-high statue? Keep watching to find out where she is on my own walk through the town of Colchester. Hi everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Colchester was the first major Roman city in Britain, and the first capital of England, known then as the Roman province of Britannia, and I begin my walk here, at Balkerne Gate. It can be found on the western side of the town. But to understand how Colchester became a city from being a small tribal settlement 2,000 years ago, we must first understand its turbulent history. So time now to begin my walk around the town. The monumental gate was first built around the year 50 AD. It originally consisted of two large arches and was erected to mark the foundation of Roman Colchester. In the years following Boudicca's invasion, the Romans wasted no time in rebuilding Colchester, and a stone wall surrounding the city was erected to deter any future attacks. It was rectangular in shape and believed to have been built approximately 70 to 85 AD. Much of the wall still remains intact from when it was built 2,000 years ago. Around its perimeter there were 6 gates, as shown. Southgate is now more commonly known as St. Botolphs Gate. Balkerne Gate on the western flank was the grandest of them all. The yellow sections indicate where remains of the wall are still standing. Balkerne Gate was rebuilt with 2 large arches for animals and horse-drawn vehicles and 2 smaller arches for pedestrians. Standing alongside is the much more recently built hole-in-the-wall pub, fittingly named for its location in the Roman wall.
The pub is actually built above part of the Roman wall. As you come out of the arch, you'll find yourself on Balkerne Walk, and Balkerne Hill, the road runs alongside. Balkerne Hill is the old Roman road which leads to London. The wall runs along both sides of Balkerne Gate, and I'm now walking in a northerly direction. And in this direction, the wall carries on to the northwestern corner. As you go round the corner, you turn right into a street known as Middleborough. So I'm going to continue walking along Middleborough until I reach a junction where I'm going to turn right again into North Hill, which will take me back to the town centre. Just here in Middleborough Street there's one of the old Roman drinking fountains, and it's round about the site of one of the old 6 gates, the North Gate.
The location of where the Roman North Gate into the city once stood can be seen as you turn the corner from Middleborough into North Hill. The site boasts 2 plaques. One is located in the brickwork of the building on the corner, and the other can be seen below on the pavement, both of which sadly record that the gate was removed in 1823.
And I'm now walking up North Hill, which is quite a hill actually, and walking towards the main high street. Just here in a lovely Elizabethan style architecture is the Marquis of Granby pub. And just before you reach the turning into the high street, there is St Peter's Church. So here now, on the left hand side, is the beginning of the high street. Looking back towards North Hill, here's another wonderful example of a Tudor building, and I've just been informed by a passerby this used to be the post office.
Shortly after you enter the high street, you'll find 2 sculptures by the artist Sean Henry. This painted bronze statue of a walking woman was unveiled in 2017. It stands 7 feet tall, and other editions of the statue can be found in Woking, London, Oslo, and Bad Homburg in Germany. While you're there, look closely and you'll see the artist's other sculpture called Man with Cup. The statue is perched high on a ledge in a service alley of the Fenwick department store, and shows a well-dressed man holding a disposable cup in his left hand. Also in the High Street is the majestic Town Hall. It was completed in 1845 and was built on the site of the original Moot Hall, built in 1277 but demolished in 1843. Just around the corner, set high in the outer wall of the Town Hall, are statues of Boudicca and Edward the Elder. Edward the Elder was the Saxon King of England from AD 899 to 924, and was the son of the legendary King Alfred the Great. And inside, on the first floor landing, Queen Victoria is seated holding the orb and sceptre.
The names might not mean a great deal, but there's a statue here of Jane and Anne Taylor, and it was Jane Taylor that was famous for writing a children's nursery rhyme, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star.
Colchester High Street would not be complete without a pub called the Camulodunum.
The doors of the Grand Theatre in the High Street have long since been closed.
Also in the High Street is the Red Lion Hotel, a Grade 1 listed building built in 1465. With its original rooms and wooden beams, it's one of the oldest inns in the town. The hotel was originally called the White Lion, but was renamed around the year 1603 to the Red Lion as a homage to James VI of Scotland and the 1st of England, whose Scottish Royal Arms featured a red lion.
There's actually 24 rooms at the Red Lion Hotel, with many of the rooms above the shop fronts in the alley.
I have previously booked a room in the hotel, so let's take a look inside. As with many old buildings, there are inevitably stories that the hotel is haunted. I'm not a believer myself, but there are said to be sightings of a well-dressed man, 2 children, and even a monk. But the most famous is the ghost of Alice Catherine Miller, who was murdered by her wealthy landowner. Don't worry, her ghost, seen here, is just fake film footage. Or is it? No trip to Colchester would be complete without a walk around the area known as the Dutch Quarter, in particular the streets of West and East Stockwell Street and Maidenborough Street. The narrow streets with their multicoloured houses are well worth a visit, and the area is so called for the Flemish Protestant refugees who fled from religious persecution in the 16th century. Here they set up a thriving textile and weaving industry. In West Stockwell Street is the Norman St. Martin's Church, which dates back to the 12th century. Look closely on the wall of numbers 11 and 12 West Stockwell Street, and you'll see a plaque showing where Jane and Anne Taylor once lived. The Taylor family moved here when the sisters were in their early teens, and their statue was shown earlier.
Still in the Dutch Quarter, at the end of St Helens Lane, you'll find East Stockwell Street. On the corner of St Helens Lane and Maidenborough Street, there's this Saxon church, which is St Helens Chapel.
Built in the 11th century, the chapel is now used as a Greek Orthodox church. And in Maidenborough Street, it's easy to miss what used to be the site of the Roman Theatre. Here, the darker grey-coloured paving stones mark the curved section of where the theatre would have been. And one of the houses on the left-hand side contained a section of the theatre's original foundations. The inside of the house is not normally open to the public, but access can be gained by taking one of the Colchester walking tours. There is an entrance to the castle in Reigate Road, which runs parallel to Maidenborough Street. But the main entrance is by the gates, which are located in the High Street.
And so here is the imposing site of Colchester Castle. The building of Colchester Castle began in 1076 on the instruction of William the Conqueror, 10 years after the Normans invaded Britain and the Battle of Hastings of 1066. The castle is built on the site of where the old Roman temple once stood. Today there's a wooden bridge which leads to the main castle entrance. But in Roman times there would have been a simple wooden staircase leading up to the arch. These stones underneath the bridge are the foundations of what would have been a forebuilding to additionally protect the castle. So, time to go inside.
Inside the castle there's a museum full of treasures and artefacts from its history. There are 2 floors, with the upper floor accessed by stairs or lifts. Just after going through the entrance, you'll see a 50-foot deep castle well. The castle was used as a jail for over 600 years. People were put behind bars for many offences, including heresy and witchcraft. In the mid-17th century, the infamous witchfinder general Matthew Hopkins used the jail for interrogation of alleged witches. Many were sent for execution, being burnt at the stake. It's now time to go below the ground level of the castle to the Roman temple foundations that lie beneath. Access can only be reached by purchasing a guided tour of this part of the castle down a set of steps as shown. Apart from viewing the foundations below ground level, the tour also goes up a flight of stairs to the roof. From here you get a view of the town below, including the town hall, seen here in the centre of the picture. Growing on one of the towers in the roof is a sycamore tree. It was planted by the mayor's daughter in 1815 to celebrate the defeat of Napoleon. When repairs to the roof were carried out in 1985, the tree was temporarily removed, and in 2015 a seedling taken from the original tree was planted in its place. It's now time to look around the grounds of Castle Park. It's worth mentioning that the castle and its grounds were given to the lawyer and Member of Parliament Charles Grey as part of a marriage settlement in 1729. He then set about conserving the grounds for future generations. In October 1892, Castle Park was formally opened to the general public by the Lord Mayor of London.
Dotted around the gardens you'll find various memorials. This one is in memory of all those who served in the Burma campaign 1942 to 1945. And in front of these gardens there's a stone which marks the formation of the Parachute Regiment and Airborne Forces. Just here there's a flower arrangement commemorating D-Day. D-Day means a lot to me personally, as my own father was one of those brave men who was on the beaches on that day, 6th of June 1944. This is a spot just by the castle that I particularly like. This is the Imola Gardens. The gardens are opened in 2007.
This obelisk marks the spot where 2 royalist captains, Sir Charles Lucas and Sir George Lisle, were executed by firing squad on the orders of the parliamentarian Sir Thomas Fairfax in 1648 at the end of the Siege of Colchester.
Squirrels can often be seen in the castle grounds. Just here you can see the remains of the floors of a Roman townhouse which were excavated in 1920. This is one of my favourite spots in Castle Park. These are the Avignon Gardens. Refreshments are available in the park grounds. It's a very hot day today, so I've decided to have 2 scoops of ice cream. And just here there's a bandstand. There are 1 or 2 follies in the park grounds. This one was built in 1892.
And this archway is another of the follies.
Hello, little fella. Just here there's a boating lake, although the boats aren't in use at the moment. I've heard of a zebra crossing. This must be a swan crossing. These concrete blocks were used as anti-tank defence systems during the Second World War.
The park is the home of Colchester Cricket Club. In days gone by, the Essex County side played cricket at various grounds all over Essex, including here at Castle Park. Sadly, they now play all of their home matches at the county ground in Chelmsford. Their final game here was a championship match against Sussex in August 2016. And of course, also in Castle Park, you're never far from a section of the old Roman wall.
This building here is Holly Trees, where you can book the Colchester walking tours, and there's also a museum inside.
In 1969, the town of Colchester was twinned with Wetzlar in Germany. These gardens were laid to celebrate the occasion and can be found next to Holly Trees. They were opened on the 10th anniversary of the twinning. Colchester was also twinned with Avignon in France in 1972 and Imola in Italy in 1997. Gardens for these occasions were similarly created in Castle Park and were shown earlier in the video.
As you turn left exiting the castle, the High Street becomes East Hill, and I'm going to walk in that direction towards East Gate and also the Siege House. This is one of the bigger churches in the town. This is St James Church. Just here marks the location of where the East Gate stood. Just around the corner is part of what would have been the East Wall. In East Hill there's this lovely old building which is the Goat and Boot Pub. Just before reaching the old Siege House you cross over the River Con. It's a navigable river, and in Roman times and even after there was a port at nearby Hythe. Here then is the old Siege House pub. The Siege of Colchester took place in 1648 during the reign of Charles I. Just here on the corner of the building you can see many of the bullet holes from the Siege of Colchester. You can see more of the bullet holes in the timbers here further along the wall. They're all marked by the red circle around them.
Once inside the pub you can still see its original oak beams, fireplaces, tiles and stained glass windows which it had during the time of the siege, all of which, despite sustained attack and gunfire, have remained remarkably intact. One of the staff was kind enough to show me round the pub and point out some of the particular points of interest. During the siege, some of the bullets penetrated through the outer walls, and one of the holes can be seen here in the original wooden beam.
And there's plenty of lovely cottages close to the old siege house as well. And on this side of the river is the site of what would have been a mill. Here's a better view of the mill, and I'm going to take a quick walk along by the river.
Making my way back from the siege house, I'm now turning right into Roman Road to see the remains of Duncan's Gate on the northern section of the Roman wall. As previously mentioned, there were originally 6 gates around the wall's perimeter. The remains of only 2 still survive, Balkerne Gate being the other. To find the gate, you first need to turn left into Castle Road, and after passing the Foresters Arms pub, just follow the road round to the right.
When you reach the bottom of Castle Road, you may well be forgiven for thinking that this is Duncan's Gate, but in fact this little archway is just an access gate that was built much more recently for access into Castle Park.
Pass through the arch and the gate can be found just a few steps to the left. Pause the video if you need to read the text. Although much of the gate has been destroyed or crumbled away, these are the remains. Carry on walking past the remains of the gate and you'll be back in Castle Park. Walking back East Hill toward the castle, there are 2 modern buildings worth a mention. In East Hill you'll find the oldest art gallery in the town, known as the Minories, a Grade 2 listed building which also hosts corporate hospitality events, as well as the Gothic Folly in the gardens. If you turn left into Lewis Gardens, you'll find the First Sight art gallery, which hosts a variety of events such as exhibitions, films and workshops. It's open Tuesday to Saturday, and it also has a shop and a cafe. Inside you can see the Berryfield mosaic, excavated from a wealthy Roman townhouse. It dates back to the year 200 AD, and it lies horizontally, placed beneath a glass canopy. I'm now back at the Red Lion Hotel in the High Street. Walking through the arch takes you into Lion Walk. In Red Lion Walk is the Lion Walk Church. Work started on the church in 1862 on the site of a round meeting house built in 1767. However, on 2 occasions the church spire fell down due to a storm and even an earthquake in 1884. In 1972 the steeple was rebuilt when the stonework began to deteriorate. The area around the church also changed when a new shopping centre was opened in 1976. Prior to its opening, an archaeological dig was carried out, with part of a Roman mosaic being uncovered. Close by, a plaque shows a copy of the mosaic, with the original being on display in the Colchester Castle Museum. The road opposite the castle gates is Queen Street, becoming St Botolphs Street further down. Turning left into Priory Street, you reach the iconic St Botolphs Priory and church alongside.
The Priory was founded round about the year 1100, and it's a lovely example of Norman architecture. Funds to complete the Priory were hampered slightly by the more powerful St Johns Abbey nearby, but the Priory was completed in the year 1150. Just opposite the Priory is St Botolph's Church.
Alongside the Priory there's a cross honouring the brave men that fell in both World Wars. Coincidentally, I'm filming this on the 4th of June, the anniversary of D-Day.
Walking away from the Priory into Priory Street, you'll find one of the best preserved parts of the old Roman wall.
Located on the corner of St Botolph's Street and Short Wyre Street, you'll find a plaque in the paving stones marking the location of St Botolph's Gate, another of the 6 main gates around the city walls. With its name unusually marked between 2 buildings, I'm now making my way up Short Wyre Street and walking back towards Balkerne Gate.
Just here there's one of my favourite pubs in the town. It's the Purple Dog, which is right on the corner of Trinity Street. And I've decided to have a meal inside the Purple Dog, a tuna jacket potato with coleslaw and salad. Just opposite the pub there's an archway which is called Gate. It's not one of the main 6 gates of the town, but was used as a passageway leading to St Johns Abbey. But I'm actually going to turn right at the pub into Trinity Street. From Norman architecture to Saxon architecture, you'll find Holy Trinity Church in Trinity Street.
The church is the town's oldest standing building, although it is not currently open to the public. However, there are plans to refurbish the Grade 1 listed building and reopen it as a community hub funded by the National Lottery. The church tower dates back to the year 1020.
Just opposite the church you can find Timperley's tea room and restaurant, and also a rather lovely bookshop.
The door to the bookshop is on the left hand side as you walk through the archway. The shop has 3 floors and is an Aladdin's cave of nooks and crannies on every floor. It's also a very old building with some original oak beams.
And if you go through the arch you come to Timperley's cafe and restaurant. And just here is Timperley's restaurant, and there's also this lovely little garden area. And I've decided to have a cheese scone with some gooseberry jam. At the top of Trinity Street, I'm now going to turn left into Culver Street West and make my way to Balkerne Gate. All you need to do is to cross the road and turn left into Church Street. Turn left and you come to St Mary's Church, which is now an entertainment venue called Colchester Arts Centre. Music and drama nights are held here on a regular basis. However, if you turn to your right rather than go straight on to the church, you'll find the Mercury Theatre.
On the roof of the Mercury Theatre, the Roman god of Mercury points proudly to the sky.
And adjacent to the theatre, you'll also get your first view of the water tower known as Jumbo. And here's a better view of the water tower. It was named Jumbo after the elephant which was sold to the American businessman P.T. Barnum.
And alongside Jumbo, I'm now back at the same location as Balkerne Gate, where the walk began. But back on the corner of Church Street and Head Street, I'm now going to walk in a southerly direction toward St John's Street. On the corner of Head Street and St John's Street, set in brickwork, you'll find a plaque denoting the location of the Roman gate now known as Headgate. And just around the corner in St John's Street there's a plaque commemorating the first professional stage appearance in 1924 of Liverpool comedian Arthur Askey.
Well, it's a hot day today, so time for a refreshment, and I'm going to have a pint in this pub called the Playhouse, which used to be a theatre.
Once you've ordered your drinks, walk behind the bar and you'll see the stage and curtains to add to the ambience. You can even sit at tables on the stage itself. As you look back into the circle, there are portrayals of many famous people. These even include Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip sitting in the royal box. And around the seating areas are posters and photos of various acts from the late 1950s and 60s who appeared at the theatre, and who remembers the Billy Cotton Band Show that was aired on BBC television in the 1950s and 60s. Billy would always shout "Wakey wakey" at the start of each show. I'm old enough to remember the show. Feel free to drop a comment if you can remember any of the artists. Comedian Stan Stennett regularly appeared on the show. Here's a signed photo that's also displayed in the pub. Continuing along St John Street, you reach a small car park where you can see another section of the Roman wall. The picture shows the vineyard steps which lead up into Old Lane. Walk a little further and St John Street becomes Osborne Street, and it's here you'll find the main bus station. Speaking of public transport, it's worth mentioning that if you're visiting the town centre by train, it's best to catch the 5-minute shuttle service to Colchester town. The shuttle runs from the main Colchester trunk line station. The station platform overlooks St Botolphs Church and Priory, shown earlier in the video. And right next to the Priory there's a car park with its entrance in Priory Street. Close by, in St John's Green, is the gatehouse of St John's Abbey.
The abbey was founded in 1095, but this gatehouse is all that remains. It was added later, in the year 1400, to strengthen the abbey during the Peasants' Revolt.
Close to a roundabout in Butt Road, archaeologists have found the foundations of a Christian church built around 320 to 340 AD, along with 700 Roman burials and possessions close by. The area was excavated in the 1970s and 80s prior to a new police station being built close to the site. Modern-day blocks of oak show where the original wooden posts formed the aisles.
I've now walked outside of the boundaries of the old city wall, and I'm at Lecato Road, where there's another ancient Roman location. It's the Roman Circus, where in Roman times chariot races would have been held. Also in the grounds are these modern day replicas of the original starting gates. They're actually in the same position as the originals. We know that from archaeological finds, and they're also built of the same materials. In this fenced-off area, archaeologists have uncovered some of the original Roman foundations of the circus, which is underneath a glass canopy.
The day of filming, the canopy was misted up by condensation, but here's a photo of how it looks with the canopy removed. Along with the outdoor exhibits, there's also a museum on the site with very realistic models of the Roman history, but be sure to check the opening times if you wish to visit. This model shows how the old Roman town would have looked. Notice how the town was laid out in a grid formation with the straight roads for which the Romans were noted. This is a close-up showing the main buildings, with the theatre in the centre and the Temple of Claudius, now where the castle stands, to the right-hand side. It has been suggested that there would have been an amphitheatre marked on the left, although there has been no proof or evidence that one was built in the town. A second temple and theatre were built at a site known as Gosbex, to the south of the town, outside of the city walls. The site is open to the public, and information boards have been placed at their location. White lines have also been painted on the ground to show an outline of the scale of their size. So that's the amazing history of Colchester. If you're planning a visit to the town, it's worth knowing that there's a large number of information boards dotted around the town to further your knowledge. But before I end this video, there's just one more thing to show. I'm now walking back from the southwestern corner of the Roman wall in Balkerne Hill. Before reaching Balkerne Gate, there's a few steps cut into the wall. As you reach the top of these steps, you're back at Colchester Arts Centre, which I showed earlier in the video. The last day of filming happened to coincide with a night of music provided by a very talented couple who are personal friends of mine. Grace and Aaron fronted the blues rock band When Rivers Meet.